Just when we thought that this year's driver market was going to be a quiet affair after all the crazy driver moves and shenanigans of last season, that could all be about to change. If you remember correctly, Lewis Hamilton's sensational switch to Ferrari in early 2024 set off a bit of a chain reaction, and before you knew it, the driver market had become the centre of attention in Formula One. And we were all trying to make sense of who could be on the move, who was at risk, would there be any more surprises along the way? But with 6 of the 10 teams having already confirmed their driver lineup for 2026, it seemed destined that there would not be too much movement in this year's driver market. But we're nearly a quarter of the way through the season now, and with all the talk and speculation that is going around at the moment, there could be a major twist. This twist lies with 2 drivers who, if you'd have put a bet on where they'll be driving next season, you would have 100% put all of your money on them staying with their current teams. That may not turn out to be the case any longer as paddock gossip gathers momentum, but just who are these 2 drivers who hold the key to the 2026 driver market, and how could all of this play out? Ironically, the 2 drivers in question have sort of conjured up a bit of a rivalry in recent times because they had a bit of a spat at the end of last season. So this could actually turn out to be a bit of a personal battle because of their futures intertwining. Max Verstappen and George Russell have hit the headlines for different reasons so far in 2025, and now both of their destinies lie in each other's hands. This has come a little bit out of the blue because there were no signs that suggested that these 2 would end up being the main players to any potential sudden changes in the driver market. Sure, okay, Verstappen has been consistently linked with a move away from Red Bull, given everything that has happened both on and off the track since the start of 2024. But he has always come out and said that he is happy at Red Bull and that he does want to see out his contract. And Max doesn't say these type of things unless he means it. He's not the type of person that's going to give, your typical PR response. If something is on his mind, he's going to say it. But with Red Bull in a sticky situation with a car that clearly is nowhere near as good as its predecessors and it's playing catch-up, that's only going to force the narrative that Max will want to leave even more. There is one crucial aspect that is more than likely going to decide Verstappen's future, and that is performance clauses. Now, I discussed this a little in my previous video, how this clause was likely going to be critical to any decision that Max would make with his career going forward. And I sort of made the assumption that if he was going to be at any point in the season outside the top 3 in the championship, that this clause would probably be liable to be activated. But according to information from the race, this clause is actually liable for if he is outside the top 2 in the championship by the summer break. That of course does mean that his name has been linked to other teams if his 9-year stay at Red Bull does come to an end, particularly Aston Martin, who, as we know, are very keen to sign Verstappen. They are prepared to do whatever it takes, whatever it gives to get Verstappen to put pen to paper and sign on the dotted line, and that includes even offering him an unprecedented contract that would mean he would be the highest earner in F1 history. There is also, of course, the lure of reuniting him with Adrian Newey, who of course he worked with at Red Bull and is busy at work currently designing Aston Martin's 2026 car and Honda when it becomes the team's engine supplier next year. And of course Max has a great relationship with both Newey and Honda, who of course played a key role in his 4 consecutive World Championships. But even though this is seen as Max's first choice should he intend to leave Red Bull, there is of course an alternative route, and this is where Russell comes in. Mercedes has, in no uncertain terms, flirted with Verstappen for quite some time now, and there was plenty of speculation and rumours going on last year about how Toto Wolff was trying to do whatever it takes to talk Verstappen into joining Mercedes. This of course all happened after Hamilton was already Ferrari bound, so Wolff no doubt saw an opportunity to sit down at least with Max's representatives and see if they could try and agree any sort of deal. But that was always going to be difficult when Max was so focused on winning that 4th title. So in the end, it did lead to Mercedes giving up on pursuing Max, and instead it decided to promote its young, exciting protege, Kimi Antonelli. And I think they have made the right decision because Kimi really has made a fantastic start to his F1 career. He's managed to score points in 4 of the first 5 races. But now that both he and Russell, their contracts are both set to expire at the end of this season, which means that there is now fresh speculation that Mercedes may try its luck once more. I can see why these rumours have resurfaced, because there is no doubt that Toto does not want to miss out on signing Verstappen like he did in 2014. That kind of still hurts him in a way, even to this day. He wants him in one of his cars. But on the contrary, he's got 2 really talented drivers, one who is seen as the leader of the next generation, and the other who's driving better than ever, and his stock is rising and rising. It almost looks as though Toto's now got a bit of a dilemma, but he isn't stupid. He knows that he's got one of the best driver lineups currently on the grid, and that both of them are nowhere near their full potential yet. They're only going to get better and better as their careers go on. So maybe that's why recently he sort of downplayed there being any negotiations with Max over a seat for 2026. But of course, that could all change. Toto's call on who the Mercedes drivers are going to be in 2026 has only been made tougher by the fact that Russell is in the form of his life. He has made a brilliant start to the season. He's been clearly one of the standout performers. You know, he's finished on the podium in 3 out of the first 5 races, and that's coincided with it being his best ever start to a season in his Formula 1 career. So why on earth would you not re-sign a driver who is clearly driving better than he ever has before? Well, as George pointed out himself, contracts, they don't matter in Formula 1 anymore. You know, you look at Carlos Sainz, for example. He was booted out of the Ferrari to make way for Hamilton, even though he was performing at a decent level. But it's always difficult when you're going up against a 7-time world champion. That lure, that temptation to sign a 7-time world champion, it's difficult to turn down. So you can never think that your seat is secure because things can change so quickly in Formula 1. That seems to be why Russell has reportedly been spotted in the paddock speaking to other teams, just as a precaution should he lose his place in the Mercedes team. I know that he's been seen talking to Zach Brown from McLaren, for example, and I think it's a smart move. It's better to be safe than sorry, just in case the worst should happen. Then again, there is also talk doing the rounds that he is set to sign a new 2-year contract extension at Mercedes. So whether or not George has signed this or he's going to sign this, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. So Verstappen and Russell, they hold the key to how this year's driver market could unravel. And I think it's going to go either one of 2 ways. Either there's going to be some major changes down the line, or normal service will be resumed. Russell will stay at Mercedes, Verstappen will stay at Red Bull. But as Murray Walker always used to say, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. So there you have it, a little bit of a look at how this year's driver market could well play out. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens going forward. But be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments as to whether Russell and Verstappen will end up swapping teams, or maybe even swapping with each other. Maybe Russell will end up in a Red Bull, Verstappen will end up in a Mercedes next year. And if you are new around here, also don't forget to like the video, and please do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.